friends, Steve Dempster here, Dempster Guitar Studio, finally back at you after a few weeks on hiatus. We're here now with issue 10 of our series on where stuff comes from. And in today's video, we're going to explore, yay, the minor pentatonic scale, that favorite scale of guitarists for all things improvisational and just sounding good all around. It's a very juicy sound. So I'll get you on the other side with the guitar in hand and we'll start exploring that. Okay, welcome back. So let me briefly go over where we're at right now and give you a good sense of practically what you want to be able to do comfortably having gone through this series and continuing forward from here. Of course, you need to, I feel, you need to be really familiar and comfortable with the major scale. And of course, we've demonstrated the crap out of that using C major as our template because it has no sharps and flats. And we did explore the other keys, trying to get an understanding of why they're set up the way they are with sharps and flats, but also giving you hopefully the good awareness that each and every one of the other 11 major scales that we work with, remember we've got 12 of them in our system, all follow the same formula, which, what's it? Right, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. In terms of frets, if I do this from the C, I know I'm repeating this a lot, and it's because I need you to get this into your bones. You've got to know it, not just have a familiarity with it, if that makes sense. So here's the scale just based on C. Get some nice tone here. I just decided to bend to the last note just because it sounds cool. And of course you work your way up and down. You get very familiar with the tone and the semitone, etc. So you want to have that well underway. Then through a lot of other issues that we went through, we finally got ourselves to the natural minor scale, which, as you know, comes from the major scale. It's based off of the 6th degree of the major scale. And it sounds like this, and we did this off of an A note. You can do this on any string starting on A. I'll do it from the 3rd string. So we have this sound now. This is the A natural minor scale from the major scale. You can think of the major scale as the parent and this guy as the child, if you like. Here we go. That's its sound, the natural minor scale. Very different flavor, and I believe in issue 9, when we hit the natural minor scale specifically, I spoke of it as sounding a bit more sad in quality, whereas the major scale tends to sound a bit happy. You got to know that thing just as well as you know the major scale. Okay, I'm going to assume that's all under control. Now I'm going to play not the relative minor, we've already done that, the minor pentatonic scale, but I'm not going to do it in a way that you're probably used to seeing it, or in a manner that perhaps is presented anywhere else. Although, if you speak to advancing players, they'll all say everything should be practiced the way I'm about to show you. So I'm going to give you the sound of the A minor pentatonic scale, but I'm going to do it on one string, just as I did with the natural minor scale. Let's take a look and a listen. So here we go. That's it. Back down. That's it. That's all it is. It's a pentatonic scale, which means it has 5 notes from A to A. So let's count them up. Make sure we're not telling you a lie here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you hit your octave A. Simple as that. Now probably most of you, and we're going to be jumping into this, if not in the next lesson, certainly following that, because it's time now to get us off of the one string and get us going across strings. And there's a lot to learn just about doing that. But here's the common approach that many people take to the minor pentatonic scale. Good old friend starting at the 5th fret, very easy on the hand, easy to memorize, and has been used and abused since day one. That thing. Now, if I just went, that's this. Bit of an intonation problem again. Better have my guitar checked, eh? So check it out. That's just half of the pattern that most people are familiar with. Same sound, same pitches. Which means, if you're paying attention and you've been involved in this series with me since the beginning, an understanding of the interval formula of that scale is a good idea. The more you know about any one concept, I don't care what anybody tells you. Oh, Steve, you don't need to know this and you don't need to know that. Stop listening to that advice. Stop looking for the hack or the quick and simple way of doing something, because most of the time when you're given a quick and simple way of doing anything, you're getting a very superficial way of doing something, which means although it sounds right and it physically is being done okay, many times you actually have no clue what you're doing. You just know that it's that. And this series is not about that process. This series is trying to open you up to understand where things are coming from. And it's not asking a lot of you, just an understanding of how things are connected in a bit of a linear way. So I hope that's starting to sink in. So let's take a look at this minor pentatonic scale and figure out its formula structure. So if I start on A, I have to move way up to the C note at the 5th fret. And that's a big leap right there from my first finger to my pinky. It's a total of, if I don't include my first finger, it's a total of 3 frets, 1, 2, 3. If you include your first finger in the way you think about it, think of it as 4 frets apart. I tend to think of it as 3 frets apart. So, if 2 frets apart represents a tone, which we've covered many times, and we add a semitone to a tone right next door, that whole thing now, intervallically, you could just call it a tone and a half. A tone and a half. From a interval naming point of view, it's referred to as a minor third. We haven't talked about this stuff yet. We will. But we'll call it a tone and a half. So that's our first interval, and it's a big interval. Tone and a half from A to C. Then from C to D is simply a tone. You're already familiar with that as 2 frets. D to E, 2 frets, another tone. E to G, another tone and a half, although it's smaller, of course, because the frets are closer. So you have to account for that as you move up the fretboard. As obvious as that sounds to a lot of people or appears, they often don't get very comfortable with it as they move up the fretboard. So this is a good reason to anticipate that as you're moving up the fretboard quickly, so does your hand have to kind of narrow itself to accommodate that. Okay, and then finally, from the G to the final A, an octave higher, is another whole tone or tone, 2 frets. So again, without talking, as I've often done, here we go. Back down. And you know, so much music has been written with that sound. It should not be unfamiliar to you. Now, if we were to do a comparison, because the minor pentatonic scale is essentially a minor scale, if we were to do a comparison to the natural minor scale, that would be a good thing. It would help you understand how the minor pentatonic sort of sits inside of the natural minor scale, which you already know well. So you're getting the point here. When you understand something you've worked on previously well, then when you learn a new related concept, which you may not have even known was related, your understanding of that newer concept is much easier to digest than if it's just thrown to you out of the blue and then just go and know it. You can start that way, but until you put it into a context, I find it's kind of empty. So let's do a comparison. Here's the natural minor scale. I'm going to name out the notes. Bring my volume up here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Stay in frame, Stephen. Okay? And if you compare that to the minor pentatonic, which was A, C, D, E, G, A, had a brain fart there for a second, that the only notes that were removed were the B note, so we took the B out, C, D, E, F, took the F out, and kept the G, and then the A. So we've got A, C, D, E, G, A, just took out two notes, B and F, from the A natural minor scale, and behold, you've got your minor pentatonic scale. So here's the thing. I'm arguing that you need to know both your major scales and your minor scales, your natural minor scales, equally well. Because from those two structures, every other scale basically that gets presented to you is going to make a lot more sense by simply in some form or another manipulating the major scale to do something, or manipulating the natural minor scale to do something. You get those guys down, and your understanding and your comfort with the wealth of scales that are out there starts to go, not so much of a big deal. So if you recall, at the beginning of the video, I was playing a little piece that used some chords that come from the A minor pentatonic scale. And a lot of people never think of that scale as being able to produce chords, but it does. We have to be a bit more creative with how we place them together, and I want to demonstrate a few to you today that don't necessarily follow the standard play one note, skip another, play one note, skip another, play one note. That structure, we're going to abandon that a little bit just to come up with some interesting chord sounds that one could use to practice the A minor pentatonic scale over. So I've got four of them here. The first one is simply a chord named A minor 7, which is made up of the notes A, C, E, and G. So basically I'm playing an A minor and I'm adding this G note at the top part on the first string. It's a beautiful sound. Another chord that comes out of that scale is called C major 6, and that's made out of C, E, G, and A. You can put those notes together like this. And these are all in the PDF. You don't have to worry about getting them right by looking at my hand right now because I'm a bit away from you. Excuse me. Or alternatively, you could play it at the 5th fret just with a bar. So we still have the same notes, A, C, E, G. A, C, E, G. Knowing your notes is so important and so cool and so helpful. Is it work? Yes, it's work. Go and do it. A, C, E, and A, C, E, G, and A for a C6 chord. So the third chord is one that's called E minor 11. At least that's how I'm naming it. And it's made out of the E, G, A, and D notes from the pentatonic scale. Here's a nice way to play that one. Has a bit of a suspended sound to it. Very spacey sort of sound. And then finally, a very common one, D7 sus4 actually can exist in that scale, and that's just this guy. Closely related in sound. And you've done that a lot. If you've ever played a D chord and you've done this thing with your pinky, you're doing a D7 sus4. You're just keeping your second finger in place. You're not moving it because you're going to come back to the D. So those 4 chords I want you to explore a little bit too, but I've recorded them in a little jam track for you to practice your A minor pentatonic scale up and down one string. Use all the devices available to you. Your slides, your bends. Bends are tricky in this one because you've got big intervals between it, but you're welcome to try. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, big leaps, anything that makes it sound musical would be a great thing to do. Hey, if you like this video, go ahead, please share it around if it's been useful for you, and give it a like. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know how these are working for you. If there's anything in particular you'd like me to cover in this series, I guarantee you I can squeeze it in, no problem, but you have to let me know. So you can do that in the comments below. And if you're just viewing this on YouTube, if you want access to the PDF and the backing track, you can just hit the link at the bottom of the YouTube video in the comments, and I'll arrange to get that to you free of charge. All you have to do is leave me a good, healthy email and we're good to go. We are now finished the amount of scale stuff that I want you to be familiar with. We're going to use that information to help us learn some other ones down the road. But in the next video, we're going to start getting away from moving up and down one string at a time, and we're going to start to apply everything you've been learning across the fretboard vertically instead of horizontally. Really easy to understand what's going on there once you've really mastered the stuff that I've been giving you over the last couple of months here. So I hope to see you then. Steve Dempster, Dempster Guitar Studio. Bye for now.